Andrew is the principal consultant for Total Earth Care, who are doing Bundanon's land management plan, which we'll talk a bit more about tomorrow and maybe as we go along today. But Andrew knows the property really well. He's been working with us for nearly a year, I think.
It is getting on to
nearly a year. So
I just wanted to show you some of the tools that we use for flora and fauna survey work. These are big torches that we use for spotlighting animals. So we go out looking for generally possums and night birds. So when you're using these torches and things, you try and put the torch close to above your head so that you're looking along the same line as the beam of the torch. And you see eye shine coming back at you. And depending on the colour of the eyes of the animals and the size and how they're moving, you can get a better idea of what that animal is just by the eye. When we pick them up, we know that they're a bat by use of this thing, which is an anabat bat detector. It records bat sound, ultrasonic sound. So if you turn it on and you hear a bat will be chirping away, and you hear that. So it'll pick up that noise and record it, and then we look at the signature of that sound on a computer and analyse it, compare it to known animals go crawling in, tread on the plate, and then the thing lifts up like that. So the end piece lifts and the animal gets trapped inside. So then you come and have a look inside when you pick it up the next day and see what animals in there. So far we've only found some Rattus fuscipes, but I'm expecting to also find Antechinus and white-footed dunnart. Maybe here, it was here in the past, so it'd be lovely to find one of those as well. So that's sort of how we do it. And obviously we're just watching, listening. And if we find a dead animal as well, we pick it up. We actually there's a blue book that was back at Riversdale, which is in my freezer at home, which I'll get that stuffed. And,
what was it?
A blue book. Yeah.
What's it?
Now and if we find a dead, say, fox, it's a good idea to cut the fox open and have a look and see what it's been eating as well. So if we trap any cats or foxes, it's a good idea to, seal them open. So. The edge of the paddock line, if you can see the grass, and then there's ridges where the grass sort of stops, your eye stops. Beyond that, we can revegetate down to the river's edge. So wherever we've got a rise in the paddock, we can sort of work it up to that. And then this area down here, Craig seemed to think that it wasn't actually as important as Bundanon as the main paddock out there. But he did think that it was important to recognise and reiterate some of the old access ways to the house. So there's been a couple of different pathways to the river so far, and it's quite likely that down here is actually one of those. There's a patch of very, very old Gladitia tricanthus, which a plant that Craig is able to date when it was used in Australia, in this area in Australia. And there's a patch of them down there, and there's another patch at the little back bay. So it's quite likely, we think, that may have been a landing point and access to the original house, which was just over here. And the back bay is probably a better place to actually unload cattle than in the main river, because the river's flowing back and forth, and if you're trying to get cattle off a barge onto the property or onto a barge, that probably wouldn't have been the best place, but the back bay would have been a much better quiet water. sort. This is the sign here. See, there's a bit of frass in there. There would have been a larvae of a borer, an insect that was in here, and you've got a big cockatoo that would have come and torn the side of the plant apart because it smelt that in there. So the Aboriginal people used to actually name the plants after the grubs that were in them that they used to eat. So if they had a witchetty grub, they'd call it that tree. But you know, the Geebung Polo Club, this is the plant that's Palm is named after. Beautiful plant, it's so varied. Some of the leaves are a little narrow like this, some are like a needle. They have this beautiful yellowed raceme or sort of a string of flowers. But yeah, really difficult to grow. Like no one's really cracked the secret of how to get these to germinate. Seed then bores its way into the tree, taps into the food, the phloem and xylem of that tree, and then grows itself parasitically. And then often the it's hard to tell them apart from the real leaf. They're hard to tell apart. And then it eventually can kill the tree. And they usually get into trees that are in poor condition. If they're drought stricken or they've got insect problems, they're not in good health, then they're more vulnerable. Beautiful looking thing. Lovely. Yeah. Something's been chewing around the base of that as well. Obviously there's been an insect or something that's been a broad-headed snake, which is a nationally listed endangered species, which loves this rocky sort of ground. So that immediately raises the importance of this area. Then